and welcome back. Sean here, Mountains Garage, on a beautiful, near 50 degree, sunny, blue sky, Friday, March 3rd, here in the state of Maine, 2023. We've been in a pattern here in the Northeast of snow every other day. Yesterday was dark and snowy and I had to plow. The day before it was nice, so on and so forth. Today is gorgeous. Tomorrow, 10 to 14 inches of snow predicted. However, it's not going to last. Most everything that fell yesterday is already melted. Not all of it, but most of it. I got a message earlier this week to go visit a friend of mine who owns one of the two speed shops that we have in Portland, Maine, not that far from me, about a half an hour to my south. And he has relocated. He was bought by a car club. We'll get into that in a minute, but it was probably at least 5 years ago now. There was a new road course, racetrack, built over in Tamworth, New Hampshire. Club Motorsports, I believe. And for me, being, not the, I guess, the customer of a place like that, I've always been really low buck and would never dream of having a facility like that at my disposal where I could go hang out with like-minded individuals. But I like the idea. I'm not against it at all. Nothing I can possibly think of would be negative towards people that can afford to do that. As a matter of fact, that Club Motorsports seems to be thriving. It's close to the public. You can drive right by it and not even know it's there. But it's quite a road course, I believe, if you look it up online. I believe it's 12 turns. I don't know how long it is, but they have a go-kart track and they have I don't know if they have a car storage facility there, but they definitely have a meeting area where you can go hang out and, do cool car stuff. So, in Scarborough, Maine, not just outside of Portland, at an old horse race track, they've built that they're building it into houses. There's going to be a big supermarket there. There's also a lot of industrial. There's an industrial section of it, a industrial park, if you will. In there is Throttle Car Club. It's new. I actually talked to one of the guys that was the founders of it at a car show a couple years ago, and where they were looking for members, and they built a giant, nicely finished warehouse where you can store your car. And if you're a member, and the prices weren't actually that bad, even from the get-go, they have a gym, a bar, a banquet hall, and the food's good apparently. There's a place where you can wash your car 24/7 inside. There's a lift you can use once you're checked out on it. It's pretty cool for a guy that has a cool car, wants to store it there in the wintertime. They'll take it out for you anytime you want, pretty much, if you arrange it ahead of time. I don't know all the rules. I just got the tour this morning. So my friend contacted me, and he is now part of that group. They built a new shop right behind there because they realized that there's a niche for, have some high-end work done. He was already doing restorations and building custom stuff with his crew of, I think he said 5 people. And now they're over there in a brand new building. They were still moving in today. And he was nice enough to take some time out of his day to give me the whole tour, where I ran into other people I know, because when you're a car person, you pretty much know most everybody, even though probably most of these people are, I don't know if I know them or not. They have some car shows there during the summer. I'm going to make it a plan to hop in the old 55 hardtop with Marcus, my son, and we'll head down and check it out one of these nights I have open to the public. You can go down and hang out. But he had he's an acquirer of stuff too. Side note, you can look him up, but his father was one of the Golden Commandos, the Mopar factory-sponsored race team. His dad was one of those guys, and he has one of their race cars, which is pretty cool. But he's a collector of stuff, and he had a whole bucket of Hurst shifters, and he tried advertising them on Marketplace, and that was just frustrating dealing with people. And he'd much rather sell them as a whole lot. So I went down and bought them all. including the tote, which I promised I'd return, but it is full of, I don't know if you've priced out Hurst shifter stuff lately, but I mean the rods, an installation kit. When you buy a Hurst shifter these days, I never bought a new one back in the day, so I don't know how it went, but you have to buy the shifter, and then the installation kit, which is the rods and levers and bolts and brackets and stuff, and then the handle and the knob and the lock nut for the knob, that's all separate. So modern day today, if you want to go online and buy one, you're going to spend at least $500 for a shifter, and that's probably on the low end of the scale. These chrome shift handles are, might as well call them $100 a piece. Even the little lock for the knob is like $15 on eBay, if not more. So 4 of these shifters are brand new. They're all different, but kind of cool. I was actually kind of spying this one. The way the levers drop down when I build my solid aluminum rod with rod ends, this is actually going to be easier for me, which is kind of cool. Traditionally, they're like this one, which the handle's on backwards, but they're somewhat close together. These are spaced out though. There's all kinds of different configurations, but this is, I got 3 offset ones now. I was actually out of them after I sold one last month. This is a straight up one. So I'll show you the tote that I haven't completely walked my way through yet, but there is a virtual pile of these, and most of them say Muncie or whatever on the packages I've seen. So lots of old cool stuff. You know me, I'm going to have a problem throwing that away. I may have to hang it up somewhere, but I already found the treasure that I've been looking for ever for. This is a Hurst boot. Just a little rectangle one. It's actually round with a small hole, and inside it pivots inside this little snout there. Part number 2421. Never been opened. I'd open that for you, but that would spoil it. The package looks rough, but inside she's mint. It's got the Hurst pattern on it. Oh, it's a 3-speed pattern. Oh well, I have a brand new 3-speed shifter right there, still in the box. Along with a pile of them that I have somewhere in the other tote, the last tote we emptied out like a month ago. So, but that was all part of the deal. And there's actually some more parts. He has some small parts bags and stuff he forgot to bring in. So I'll have to make another trip down there to return his tote and pick up the rest of the hardware. But my point in this whole story, if you're not asleep yet, is hot rodding is alive and well. And it's nice that, you know, most everybody I know that does it is on the poor side, you know, the do-it-yourselfers, but it's nice to know that it's fully supported, clearly, by people that can, you know, afford to have really nice stuff, house it in a nice warehouse like that. The place is full, and it's beautiful. It's all heated, climate controlled, you know, storage lifts. It's really nice down there, so I had a good time. And next subject, my toolbox. My buddy was nice enough to drop off the missing key, and it took about a day for all the snow to melt off and me to clean it off, but it actually helped the process because it was nice clean snow. And I took all the tools I had and stuffed over on the shelf, and behind me over here, I haven't quite finished this corner of the bench. And it's all my transmission tools in one spot, along with the regular sockets and screwdrivers and stuff that I use every time to work on transmissions. So already it's been really helpful. I have holding fixtures to build 2 transmissions on the bench over in the corner, 2 here, 2 on the bench down there. So I can now travel with my tools. If that narrow pathway about the size of me and the toolbox is about all I can do to get around here, but that's because every day stuff comes in and very seldom does it leave. But what are you going to do? I have mentioned before that when I build a transmission, it typically goes like this. I strip it apart, and I don't just take the big pieces out while I'm stripping, because I'm usually looking for a problem or damage or to see what I'm working with. I strip every piece apart here on the bench, and it takes up most of the bench. And next I typically clean the case, prep it, do whatever I got to do, and then as I work on the sub-assemblies, I stick them in the case. Never before, believe it or not, have I privileged myself with building all the sub-assemblies first. And I didn't quite complete it on this one, but I did everything you see that's already installed. Because I was waiting for a break in the weather. First it was cold, and then it's been snowing. And the engine stand that I use that has the adapter that I made for the holding fixture was stuck in the snowbank. Day before yesterday, I was doing something else and I thought to myself, it's 40-something degrees out, it's going to snow again tonight. Right now, let's go see if that engine stand will come out of the snowbank. It did. I set myself up, and next time I cut a bell housing off, I'm going to set the camera up and record the whole thing live, because it took me, well, we'll find out, because I'll do it in a video. Because I've got to the point where it's that easy. And I know I said I was going to make it and do it in the mill. That actually would have taken longer. I can do the whole thing in 10 or 12 minutes. And I know exactly where to cut. And it fit the first time. I didn't have to go back and touch anything up. Because repetitive, that's the only reason I'm ever good at anything, because I do it a lot of times. And I learn from my mistakes. So in this case, it went pretty smooth. While waiting for another guy to show up yesterday, the transmission case was sitting there clean, ready to go. All the parts were sitting over there, assembled up to the pump. I still got to do the pump, so I have to drill the extra hole. I have a mock-up pump that I put in the pump opening, put a couple studs and put the bell housing on to make sure it actually clears as I go around with a flashlight. Because you don't want it touching anywhere, and that's without gaskets, so I know when I put a pump gasket on it, I'm going to gain a little bit more. So I did that. So while I was waiting for him, I just stuck all the sub-assemblies in. It doesn't take long when they're all put together, clean and ready to go. It was actually fun, and I enjoyed it, because you know, as you do the same thing over and over again, you have to find different ways to even keep yourself interested in it. So, and this was that. So I'll do it again, probably on the Cadillac one. I'll bust it apart and give myself a treat by, you know, when you get 5 minutes, I do a sub-assembly or whatever, however long it takes, and set it off to one side, and then putting it together is really kind of fun. Maybe I should have been doing it like that the whole time. Here's the tote, and if you look down at the bottom, I don't know how many rods are down in there. Just the other day, I was looking for a reverse rod, and I had trouble finding it. I got a few more cross shafts, a couple of these Hurst Indy shifters that are actually automatic shifters. I got two of them. Kind of strange the D10 is in the back. I got to figure that out, but because the handle's fixed. Interesting. I'll have to do a little research on those. There's a few parts bags that say Muncie on them. Lots of gold. Here's a blast from the past, a Hurst Synchro Lock 3-speed shifter. Brand new. I understand if I've tried to figure out what it fits, but they had a option of removing a roll pin and making it an inline shifter instead of an H pattern. So interesting. Well, that's that. I gotta find a place for all this junk, and hopefully finish this Turbo 400 tonight so I can start on the other one. Enjoy your Friday evening, and I'll catch you in a couple days.